You know those people who never complain, never ask for credit, and just quietly handle things for you? Maybe it's your manager who diffuses a crisis before anyone else even knew there was one. Maybe it's your dad who just handles things. Maybe it's that one coworker who never panics, never complains, and somehow always knows exactly what to do when everything goes sideways. There's a good chance they were born between 1965 and 1980. And there's a reason they are the way they are. Here's something most people don't realize about Generation X. They didn't have a childhood the way we think of childhood now. No playdates scheduled 6 weeks in advance. No parent tracking their location in real time. No one curating their self-esteem. What they had was a bike, a general direction, and a rule: be back before the streetlights come on. That was it. That was the whole framework. And something about that, the unsupervised hours, the scraped knees with no one watching, the problems they had to solve before anyone older got home, it built something in them that's genuinely hard to manufacture later in life. They learned that the world doesn't pause for you, and they've never quite forgotten it. Think about what it actually felt like to be a kid in the late 70s or early 80s. You wanted to know something, anything, you had two options: find a book or find someone who knew. That was it. No shortcuts. If you were writing a school report on volcanoes, you either got to the library before it closed or you were guessing. So they learned patience. Real patience, not the kind where you refresh the page. They learned that some answers take time, and that figuring something out on your own feels different from being handed it. It sticks differently. It means something different. Ask a Gen Xer to do something they've never done before. Watch what happens. They don't Google it in front of you. They go quiet for a second, think it through, and then they just start. Because they spent their whole childhood doing exactly that, starting with incomplete information and adapting as they went. Their relationship with trust is one of the most misread things about them. People assume Gen X is cynical. They're not really. What they are is accurate. They watched the adults around them make promises that dissolved quietly. The secure job their dad gave 30 years to, gone. The marriage their parents insisted was fine, not fine. The authority figures on TV who were supposed to have answers caught lying so often it stopped being shocking. So Gen X recalibrated. They didn't become cold. They just stopped outsourcing their judgment. They developed this internal scoring system. Not based on what you say, based on what you do, repeatedly, over time. You can't charm your way into their trust. You can't give a great first impression and coast. They're watching what you do when things get hard, when no one's looking, when there's no upside to doing the right thing. And once you're in, you're in. Gen X loyalty is quiet, but it's ironclad. They just don't advertise it. There's something that comes up over and over when you talk to Gen Xers about their teenage years. This almost fond memory of boredom, not boredom as a problem. Boredom as a state they actually lived in and learned to navigate. Saturday afternoon, nothing to do, nowhere to be. No feed to scroll, no content to consume, no notification pulling at their attention. Just time stretching out in front of them. And so they'd do something, build something, wander somewhere, get into something they probably shouldn't have, make up a game with whatever was lying around. Have a conversation that went on for 3 hours because there was nothing else competing for it. That capacity to sit with yourself without distraction is increasingly rare, and Gen X has it in a way that's almost hard to explain to people who grew up with a screen always within reach. They know how to be alone with their thoughts and not panic. They also grew up with a front row seat to some genuinely unsettling things. By the time a Gen Xer was in middle school, they'd absorbed the Cold War as background noise. Nuclear anxiety wasn't something they read about. It was something that occasionally surfaced in a classroom, in a news broadcast, in a conversation where adults used a very controlled tone that kids learned to distrust immediately. Nobody fully explained it. Nobody fully reassured them. They were just supposed to go about their day with that humming underneath everything, and so they did. They compartmentalized young. They got comfortable with uncertainty young. They learned that you can hold something scary in the back of your mind and still function, still show up, still get on with it. That skill, and it is a skill, shows up everywhere in how Gen X moves through the world. They don't catastrophize out loud. They don't need everything resolved before they can proceed. They can carry a lot of weight without letting it show, sometimes to a fault. That last part matters. Because Gen X's greatest strength and their biggest blind spot are actually the same thing. They handle everything themselves. Always have. It feels safer that way. They learned early that depending on someone means they can let you down, and letting yourself down is at least something you can control. But it also means they don't ask for help even when they should. They'll exhaust themselves quietly before they'll let anyone see them struggle. They'll carry stress that would break most people and frame it as just being realistic. The people who love Gen Xers sometimes say it's hard to know when they're not okay, because they look the same whether they're fine or falling apart. They've had a lot of practice at both. Here's what makes them interesting right now, in this specific moment. Gen X is the last generation that lived fully on both sides of the line, before the internet and after it. They remember what it felt like when information was scarce, when you couldn't reach someone instantly, when making plans meant committing to them because you couldn't cancel via text an hour before. They adapted to the digital world completely. They use it, they work in it, many of them built it, but they weren't shaped by it the way younger generations were. It didn't form them. They came to it already formed, which gives them something unusual. Genuine perspective. Not nostalgia, not resistance to change, just a real lived understanding of two fundamentally different ways of being in the world. They're not the loudest generation. They won't tell you how hard they've worked or how much they've been through. They probably won't post about any of this, but the next time something goes wrong and someone quietly steps in and just fixes it, no fuss, no credit, no follow-up. Look at how old they are. There's your answer. If this resonated with you, hit subscribe. There's a lot more of this kind of thing here. And if it made you think of someone in your life, leave a like. It genuinely helps more people find it.